Welcome to the mid-year momentum reset. This is an opportunity for you to just pause if you haven't already. Some of you might have done something like this already and done some reflection. It's really fun doing it together and celebrating together. Business is better together, life is better together. And so I just want to stop and acknowledge everything that you've done this year. The growth, the hard times, the good times. It's probably been a real mixed bag. So I just want to say congratulations. As humans, just living life, there's always so much to do, so much to focus on, so many decisions that we make. And no matter how you're feeling, whether you feel like you've done a lot this year or not, this is a chance to acknowledge who you've been this year, not just what you've achieved, not just the outcomes and the results, but who you've been, how you've shown up. The fact that you're still here, still showing up, shows that you're committed to your business, you're committed to yourself, your future, your family, your loved ones. And so I just want you to take a moment to acknowledge yourself. And if you'd like to, just place your hand on your heart and just feel gratitude for yourself, for everything that you've brought yourself through this year, everything that you've journeyed, all that you've done, who you've shown up as a daughter, as a sister, a friend, a mother, a wife, whatever roles you play. I just want to say a big congratulations for you for just showing up in that way as a business owner. You've done well. You've done well. And so I want us to acknowledge that. We're going to go through a process today. I created this a few years back because I do a process every mid-year and I do it with my sister. My sister Vicky has been my biggest coach my whole life. She became a life coach in 2001. And so she's been a really amazing influence in my life. And we do a summit every year. She's in New Zealand, sadly. So sometimes we'll get to do it together, but mostly it's online. And we go through these questions. And then we just thought, let's put this into a process for both of our clients. And so I created the Momentum Reset. And it's basically just a worksheet of questions, but they're thought out in a way that we don't just jump into the goals. We jump into a range of questions that will really get you thinking and probably support what you're already doing. I know a lot of you probably do similar processes, so this might just give you some other ideas on how to reflect. Today, we're going to go through it together and share our wins and share our growth and share our reflections. And I there was so much that I hadn't really stopped to think about. Sometimes you get your head down and you're just doing, and then you pop up at various points. And I love this time of year to stop and reflect. In New Zealand, they celebrate this as the Māori New Year. It's called Matariki. And so I'm just in a habit of stopping, and they have a public holiday for it. And so I just take my own holiday. It was last week, and they reflect on the past, they celebrate, and then they look forward to the future. And so that's what we're going to be doing in this session, and just getting really clear on what you want for the second half of the year. So click on File and make a copy. I want to just share a little bit about when I did this process in case it sparks some ideas for you about how I gather this information. So before I go into the worksheet, I actually start gathering data. So I'm just going to share what I was doing on this. I just open a Word doc, like a plain blank Word doc, and I just say my mid-year snapshot. And I personally do 8 different areas. So I do these 8 areas. Probably you might have heard of the Wheel of Life. If you want to do like a whole look at your whole life, because we're not just business owners, of course, that's only just a part of it. And so this process, if you want to actually include the other areas of your life, I've got a separate worksheet for that. I just thought that might be helpful for some of you. So the Wheel of Life, there's all different versions of it. I did it in a coaching course like 10 years ago, and it was really helpful. I do it every quarter. I do it with different friends. I do it with groups of people, and it's 8 different areas of life. If you'd like to take a holistic snapshot, which I think is helpful because obviously every area feeds into each other. If we're thriving in our health, obviously we're going to do better in our business and our relationships. You pick 8 areas that you want to rate. And for me, I pick health and fitness, business, spirituality, marriage, personal growth, emotions, mindset, finances, and social. So you might say family, you might say children, you might say dating life. There's different things that you can rate. And I just look at the different areas and I start writing things down. For example, I said, okay, holidays. What are the holidays that I've done this year? What are the business events that I've done this year? And then I start breaking it down into how much I've spent on ads and how much I've invested into courses and things like that. So the other thing that you can access to help you gather and pull in all the information, I use my phone a lot. I just look at what I did in the last 6 months. You want to gather from your calendar or wherever you keep track of that and start, I guess, just dumping down the information so that when you're doing the momentum reset, you can really reflect. I found this really helped me to reflect because I was like, I really have grown a lot this year, but I feel like I say that every year. And it's nice to actually quantify it a little bit. So when I looked at, I've spent $7,400 on online courses. I was like, oh, of course I'm going to grow because I've bought 23 products, like business growth products, and I've done 19 of them. It's more of a tangible thing than just, oh, I've just grown as a person. So if you can look at books you've read, conversations that you've had, things that you've invested into, summits you've been to, or webinars, things like that, then it's, wow, I've really been investing in my growth and I can see that it makes a difference and it helps you make decisions for the second half of the year. And progress feels good, doesn't it? There's a lot of people that say happiness comes from progress. And most humans would say, what do you want? If they were asked on the street, what do you want? Most humans say, I just want to be happy. And happiness means different things to all of us, right? But Tony Robbins, one of the top coaches in the world, he says, he's done a whole lot of research in not every different country, over 100 countries. And he's found that it's progress that equals happiness, just feeling like we're actually improving, growing, evolving as humans. It's wired into us in our DNA, right? But if we're not tracking that, Tim Ferriss took a step further and he said, if progress equals happiness, then tracking equals progress. Tracking your progress by doing these types of activities regularly, it actually helps us stop feeling like we're just living in the day-to-day mundane, right? Head down, just doing, to actually be intentional and pop up. That's what great leaders do. They stop, they take time away, they go away, they remove themselves from their environment. This is a really great thing to do at a cafe by yourself or with a friend, or go out. I love sitting under a tree with pen and paper and just reflecting. At the start of the year, I set one goal for the year, and that was to journal every day. That was my only. I've got goals like for all 8 areas, but my number one overarching, I guess it's more of a habit than a goal, was to just journal every day. And if I miss a day, because I knew that I probably would miss a day, I just always catch up. And I just made it easy for myself by doing it in my phone. Like, it's not ideal. I'd rather do pen and paper, but for years and years, I'd been trying to pick that habit up, and I'd keep starting, and a few weeks later I'd stop. And so I just start doing it on my phone because I already had that habit of picking up my phone. So now I just open Apple Notes as soon as I wake up, and I just journal rather than looking at social media or opening my emails. I like creating rather than consuming. And that's really helped me. My sister Vicky, she calls it clearing the emotional pipes. She calls it like an emotional colonic, where you just clear it all out. It makes you more mindful. It makes you more present. It makes you more calm. Within a few weeks, I started seeing the benefits. I was like, there really is something in this. Is why people always talk about journaling. And I've journaled all my life, but not daily, like not consistently. And Vicky is the most calm, grounded, intentional person I know. And I think her journaling practice it's a big part of it, because she'll just process thoughts through that. And some of us are real verbal processors. I love talking it out. And like you say, Kate, that conversation counts, because we do get to really process, especially as women. We talking out with a friend is so powerful. Another thing I did was committed to an accountability buddy in January. And every day we WhatsApp message each other 3 MITs, which are our most important tasks. And we've been so consistent with it. And just having that every morning where we just both send 3, and then we check in regularly throughout the week and see how we're getting on. That's been really powerful as well. So obviously we can set goals, we can set habits. And I think it's good to reflect on what habits have served you this year as well, because obviously they go on autopilot and they just become part of who you are. And if you are going to add a habit, I recommend adding it to an existing habit. So I stretch every night. I've done that for years. I just always stretch before bed. And then I added Spanish lessons to stretching. So I just do my Spanish lessons while I'm stretching. And I'm over 900 days of doing that now because it has a streak and you don't want to lose your streak. So they've gamified it. And so I've just added another one to that. So there's three of them now, and it's the journaling. So I'll do my Spanish lesson, stretch, and journal all at the same time. And it's just an everyday ritual that I think will set me up for the rest of my life, physical, mental, and emotional. So are there any habits that you've nailed that you want to attach another one to? I used to do brushing my teeth and squatting. I haven't done that for a while, but every time I went to the bathroom, before I'd sit back down at my desk, I'd do 10 squat jumps. So that's something that I want to start attaching because we're always going to brush our teeth. We're always going to go to the bathroom. Can you put something with that? I've already jumped ahead into future. We're meant to still be reflecting, but I think reflecting on what's working really well is a great start. So Sandy reflects at night, swimming, walking, and driving. It's so good when you're actually doing something, isn't it? And you're in that like subconscious mode and you can process. It's so cool, Sandy. Lynette has a notebook called The Commonplace. I write whatever comes to mind. That's so good, Lynette. Using Brendan Burchard's planner. Oh, I love his stuff. HPX planner to stay in tune every 90 days. I love that book. You've reminded me I need to re-listen to that book. Beth started squatting every time I open the bottom freezer drawer. What a great idea. I love that. I'm going to grab that, Beth. So good. So the growth reflection is really on your business, but also just bring to mind, like, are there things that you can do in your personal life that are going to help your business? Like, I know for me, I haven't walked as much as I'd like to, and I want to get out and walk more. I set a goal for my steps in June, and it really made a difference to have that goal to hit a certain amount of steps in the whole month. And I get out and I do voice messages and I clear the pipes while you're walking. And there's something powerful about moving while you're thinking, and also listening to business books. So it gets me out of the house. So thinking about the areas of business that you want to grow in, and are there areas in your personal life that you can, or habits that you can put in place that are going to help you in your business. So the growth reflection is a very honest look at where you're at. So be completely honest with yourself. You don't have to share any of this, but if you would like to share something in the chat box, we'd love to hear. So let's take a little bit of time on the growth reflection. How are we getting on, ladies? The thing with this growth reflection is that it can sometimes make us feel like, oh, I want to change something. And that energy is quite good. Sometimes we don't change things unless we get fed up. So it is designed to go, okay, this is a bit of a line in the sand moment. What am I fed up with? And that one where it talks about skills, attitude, and effort, it's just such a simple way to go, okay, if things aren't working, it's one of those three areas. It's always one of those three areas that in our business that is lacking. So it could be a combination of you need to up level a skill. It could be that it's a mindset thing that you can work on. Speaking to a lady the other day about, she booked a call for business strategy, but we realized it was a big mindset block there. So we did just mindset in that session, and the strategy just flowed from that. So the mindset's going to be a resistance piece if we don't deal with it. And then how much effort are we putting in? So sometimes it's just good to get really real with ourselves and say, how do I want to show up? This is how I have been showing up. And sometimes life just throws a whole lot of stuff at us, right? And we just persevere. It shows us our resilience and our ability to be determined and just go for it. I think the next question, how do we want to show up? Maybe it is the same. Maybe you've been showing up in a really positive, powerful way and you want to keep doing that. But I'd love to hear from you. How do you want to show up in the next 6 months? Because how we show up is such a big domino that knocks over all of the like little actions that we're going to take. If you're a person that is committed, dedicated, hardworking, willing to do whatever it takes, like I always want to be someone that's very coachable and willing to look at my blind spots. And so I'm in a business mastermind at the moment where the very first session I said, the way we all know each other. And so I said, how you know me personally, is that reflected in my marketing? Just give it to me. Give me feedback. And it's vulnerable to ask for feedback, but that's how we grow. So that's how I want to show up. I want to show up humble. I want to show up learning, open. I want to show up with courage. I want to show up vulnerably. How do you want to show up? There's a very simple process called the Reframe Method in the worksheet. And basically it comes from the tapping, the EFT tapping, where we say, if you've done tapping before, we say things like, even though this has happened, I totally accept myself. Or even though X has happened, I choose my reaction. So it's just a very simple version of saying, okay, Beth, you've had so many things come at you, right? So it's choose one. Even though all these things out of my control have come into my life, if I don't change, pivot, grow, take the signs that come in, take the little taps on the shoulder that we get. If I don't listen to that, why is that a problem? If I just keep on the same trajectory, and 5 times is really good because you get quite deep. You get, okay, the first few are kind of surface level conscious ones, and then it's like it really hits you emotionally when you say, why is that a problem? Ultimately, if we take it out 5 years and we don't do something about it, then what's the flow and snowball effect? And then in order to feel that frustration, there's obviously a belief. There's something that we're believing that's not true. So it could be that it's too much for me to handle, or that it's just not fair, or the universe is conspiring against me, or there might be some type of belief that's just keeping our blinders on, right? And we all do this. We all have blind spots. And so what do we need to believe instead, and then what actions will we choose instead? So you might want to take a little bit of time to really sit with that, or go for a walk with the intention to allow that to come to you. But we'll do that for just get you started on that, because I just want to get to the feel good future, because I really want to know what some of your goals are. So let's just take a little moment on the reframe method, but it might be something that you want to revisit in a bit more depth. If you click on the link at the bottom, it takes you to a document called the Project Planner. And this is really great. I always recommend to most people that I'm coaching to set 3 projects per quarter, or per 6 months. So it's up to you if you want to do, a project a month or a project every 2 months. But what I mean by project is it could be setting up a funnel, it could be setting up a website, it could be setting up a marketing campaign for a launch, it could be running a workshop. It's these what we call future cash activities. So the fast cash is the day-to-day things that we do to bring in clients, the consistent content, the outreach, if we're doing that, those things that are the day-to-day maintaining, looking after our clients. But also the project is more something that we work on in the big picture. So it's something that we're chipping away at. So the project planner just helps you map that out, and that's something that you can do in your own time. So we'll finish up here with just what is one thing based on today, based on what we talked about, what's one thing that you'd like to take into the second half of the year? Like, it could be a goal, it could be a habit. What's one thing that you'd like to just say, this is what I want for the second half of the year? It could be a way of showing up. If you have a goal, maybe you want to get a certain amount of clients or make a certain amount of money. Maybe it's a habit that you want to put into your business, something that you're doing consistently. You can do it. You can do it. Cheering you on. Love to hear your progress if you'd like to share in the Facebook group. And happy mid-year. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Bye.